I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen...
You're a virgin!
Can't believe I haven't seen it before now.
I'm a virgin.
Oh yeah, I still can't believe you haven't seen... What is wrong with you?
I'm a virgin.
That's pretty good.
That was better.
You know, we're getting close to 100 episodes, and you would think we'd be good at this by now, but we're not.
I mean, we used to be, but then...
That's true. There's
then we're
technical
not again.
difficulties.
Stupid technical difficulties.
That's good, beer. Welcome
Ooh.
to Movie Boners, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
As I fill the dead air.
Oh, man. Well, I feel like finding a beer for this one was probably the easiest one to do because there's always beer you want to try, but trying to find a relevant per episode gets a little hard. Luckily for this one, it's like you can pick anyone.
It was very freeing to not have to any beer I wanted was the theme.
Yep. So I've been eyeballing this one like every time I go to the liquor store.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always like, man, I just don't know when that's going to be a relevant one. Because like I don't really drink a lot except for on the show. So I was stoked. I'm trying Clown Shoes Space Cake Double IPA.
Oh, wow.
It's
that's
fucking tasty, dude. This is good. I like this beer. Oh, yeah.
I like the names and the name of the brewery. That's awesome.
Right?
Are they in Texas?
Nope. Vermont and Massachusetts.
Vermont.
Yeah, Massachusetts and Vermont.
Interesting.
Clown Shoes beer from Boston and Windsor, Vermont.
Changing it up.
You know what's interesting? This will throw you off guard, which I'm not really tasting this part of their description, but it says tropical and juicy. I don't taste juiciness.
You wouldn't have got it if
I wouldn't have gotten that. Right. Yeah. But this is
that's cool.
It's not too bad. Not too bad.
All right. Well, like you, I did the exact same thing where I just got one that I've been meaning to get for a long time, but never thought I would fit into an episode.
Right.
I know you're a fan of this brewery, the Rogue Brewing Company.
Dude, I love Rogue.
I never had this one. I've been watching it for a while. It's their Dead Guy Ale.
That's one of my favorite beers ever.
It's wicked good. I'm a big fan of it.
So good.
Yeah, it's really, really good. It's just ale. It's really good.
Yeah,
Dark Risk Dream. I like it. I like it a lot.
That's one of those beers that like sneaks up on you.
I can see that. It's like 6.8%. Yeah. So, let's get into some housekeeping before we get into the episode.
I think the housekeeping is going to be kind of funny.
No.
Because this was all new movies. I watched a lot of shit the last 2 weeks, dude.
Well, you're jumping ahead because we have to check in on our movie draft.
No, we don't.
You say this every time.
I know.
Lot of weird, wild stuff has been happening in the movie draft. Getting up to the end of it. Yeah. You are in the lead in box office still and live slightly behind in average rating still. So no changes there. But movies I thought would be a shoo-in, specifically Amsterdam, has been very poorly received so far. And Don't Worry Darling also has not made any money, so I'm getting my stress levels elevated a little bit.
Yeah. I saw Don't Worry Darling.
Yeah.
The rating that is on IMDb is generous. That movie is a heaping pile of horse shit.
Oh, wow.
The more I thought about the movie, because I texted you right after I saw it.
Yeah.
The more I thought about it and talked about it with a couple people down here, the more I realized, nope, that movie sucks. That is a terrible movie. I fucking hate that movie.
Okay. Yeah, you texted me something like, I have not.
Okay.
But you texted me something like, it's full of one of my modern movie pet peeves.
Yes.
Which I could only assume is the one where every male character is a bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. You kept me in suspense, but I liked it.
Well, I debated, like, it's not really a spoiler or anything. It's just, yeah, it's very much men are the face of all evil. Mm-hmm. It was an annoying movie. I
saw a thing this week where Olivia Wilde apparently said that the Chris Pine villain character is based on the Canadian philosophy professor Jordan Peterson, who's like a big social media guy, but and he has like his whole thing about like getting people's lives in order, and young men who have disorganized lives as a big part of that. And yeah, she seemed very much like kind of attacking him specifically in a weird way, which made me feel like she has no idea what's going on or what her movie would be about.
Yeah, it's a giant mess of a movie. I was really glad and kind of bummed at the same time that I used one of my free tickets on it. Mm-hmm. Like, I was glad that I didn't pay money for it, but I was bummed that I wasted a freebie on it. The more I thought about it, the more I was like, God damn it. I really did not like that movie at all.
That's rough. Yeah, I don't know how Amsterdam is going to go. I'm still excited to see it. I'm excited to have a Taylor Swift movie that's not Valentine's Day, because that movie's not good. And I'm not going to watch Cats every year, so I have to watch Valentine's Day.
I like that you're saying it's a Taylor Swift movie. She's probably got like a scene in the whole thing.
I don't know.
I mean, she could be prevalent or like prevalent. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I will be seeing it tomorrow, which means by the time you folks watch this episode, I will have already seen it.
That's how time works.
I'm a little worried to go see it just from the poor reception that it's getting.
Yeah,
but I am being optimistic that I won't hate it. It can't be worse than a couple of the movies I have watched recently.
I did also learn. Do you know what the deal is with Operation Fortune and why they never wanted it to come out?
No, but I saw that they just released a trailer.
Oh, did they? I didn't.
Apparently,
I didn't see that, but I did find out why they shelved it. Oh, because apparently the villains in it are Ukrainian like bad guys. And so when that whole thing happened and the world decided to simp for Ukraine and send them all of our money, part of that deal was also don't make them the bad guys in movies. And so they can't release that movie now all of a sudden.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I did not hear that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie to you, dude. I kind of forgot that movie was even like a thing until I saw like, hey, Operation Fortune has a trailer. And I was like, oh yeah, Jake has that.
Yep. Unfortunately.
I'm just laughing at all of our picks coming up because
Black Adam should be good.
Black Adam's probably going to make a shitload of money, but get an average Dwayne Johnson rating. That's my prediction.
Okay.
Which, judging by how my predictions at the very start of this whole goofy thing was, I will be very wrong.
Yeah, probably.
I'm hoping Halloween Ends has a huge box office hit. Mm-hmm. And I'm hoping that it's way better than Halloween Kills, although I'm very worried it's going to just be so bad that I'm going to want to gouge my eyes out. Black Panther 2, I had to laugh because Marvel is kind of now, thanks to Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, Marvel's like scrambling to try and make people excited for anything other than Deadpool, which is not fucking happening.
Don't forget, we're still doing all of this stuff that nobody asked for and nobody wants.
They're like, Deadpool news hits, the world goes nuts. Mm-hmm. And Marvel's like, crap, we have so much coming out before then. Hey, folks, Armor Wars is coming out. Yeah. And the world went, who fucking cares?
If you were me, you went, what the fuck is Armor Wars?
Which was really funny to keep getting notifications about people getting real, like, up in arms against you for not.
Yeah, I made the mistake of commenting that it was a stupid name for a movie, and they're like, it's the name of the comics. And I was like, I don't care about that.
and then, Black Panther, they revealed who the new Black Panther is, even though everybody already knew who it was. And it was like, Yay. Okay.
Yeah. And by the way, She-Hulk comes out again next week, so don't forget.
And I have, dude, so I've been only suffering the shittiness that is She-Hulk for the Daredevil cameo. I have yet to watch his episode because one of the guys I work with watched it and he goes, "You're a Daredevil fan." Yes, I'm a big one. And he went, "It's going to break your heart. You're going to hate it." I was like, fuck. So he told me all about
your
it.
losses right there.
And I'm genuinely debating that. I'm genuinely thinking, like, is it worth it? I don't think it is.
Yeah.
And judging from the negative reactions to his episode, I feel I'm not the only one thinking that. So
yeah. Well, especially when you try to redo the Charlie Cox Daredevil, which was probably the best thing Marvel had done until they started forming the Avengers.
Yeah.
And probably still is among the top 3 things that they've done ever.
The Daredevil series was incredible.
Yeah.
Now I'm very worried for what Marvel is going to do moving forward. But
Fablemans are supposed to be good. I heard
the Fablemans, the preview looks awesome.
I heard
it looks great.
That's the main reason that Killers of the Flower Moon isn't coming out, because even though it's been done for like a year, Scorsese didn't want to release it because he didn't want to put it up against Fablemans for the like award season.
Oh, okay.
He's like, it's Spielberg's time or something. I don't know.
Okay. Well, Fablemans, the preview for it genuinely looks great. It looks like it is like a giant love letter to filmmaking and storytelling. It's a somewhat autobiographical film about Spielberg as a kid. It looks great. It really does. I'm stoked for it. Avatar looks like a piece of watery shit because the first one was as well. Moving on.
Like you left that little jab in there for me. I appreciate that.
Every time, damn it.
All right,
it's very spiteful because I know that movie's just going to rake in stupid amounts of money. And
but I only have 3 weeks to get it.
I know. It's weird.
I only have 3 weeks. And Glass Onion got a little bit of, it got a week.
You get 1 week in the theater.
But in like 3 different major chains, it should be better than nothing. That's my whole thing.
I think it's gonna rake in quite a bit. Hopefully it's good. I'm not too worried it's not gonna be great. I think it's gonna be great.
We'll see.
Yeah.
What else new did you see lately?
I watched possibly way too much. So Don't Worry, Darling was a heaping pile of shit.
Yeah, heard about it.
And then I watched Blonde because I've been looking forward to seeing a Marilyn Monroe biopic. And that movie is also a steaming pile of shit, possibly one of the worst things I've ever watched up until earlier today.
Oh no. How's Ana de Armas in it?
She is amazing, and she is the only positive thing to say about that movie. The rest of the movie is like, this is so bad. And you know what makes it just, I have zero respect for this film. They based it on a non-factual quote unquote story. It's based on a fictional book, loosely based on some things that happened to Marilyn Monroe in her life. And I was like, wait a minute, you don't even have respect for a Hollywood icon to make an actual movie based on her life. You have to base it on a fictional story. Go fuck yourself. That movie is so bad. It's so boring. It's so dumb.
And I found it very, I guess, too ironic or too obvious for me that they make a Marilyn Monroe biopic, who is Marilyn Monroe is like the biggest sex symbol ever, certainly of a generation, and was like scandalous, obviously. Yeah. And they like kind of use that in a very obvious way to promote this movie, who's
with the rating.
Big surprise. Yeah. It's a sexist, scandalous movie.
And it's really not. Yeah, the movie sucks. Don't waste 3 hours.
All right.
You can YouTube clips
3 hours.
It's 3 hours, dude.
Damn.
You can YouTube clips of her as Marilyn, and you're fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that's most of it, is just seeing her and be like, yeah, she looks like Marilyn Monroe, and then turning it off.
Yep. I watched Hocus Pocus 2 with my kid, and we were both like, not bad.
Me too.
but not that great.
Oh, interesting.
Did not care. Both of us were like, womp, womp. We didn't hate it. We just thought like, this feels very unnecessary.
Yeah.
And it just, I think it tries too hard, and they do something. I won't spoil it for you people out there that haven't watched it yet. They do something in it that I was just like, really? You totally just retconned so much that should never have been retconned, and that bugged me.
Yeah.
But I didn't hate it. It was cute. It's just, I didn't think it was that special.
Christy liked it a lot. I think mostly because it's just fun to see them come back as those
that
characters.
Was fun, and there are some funny moments in it.
They did like a really good job of just like finding themselves in those characters.
Oh yeah, they fit. Once again, my favorite in the first one was Sarah Jessica Parker, and she was my favorite again in this one. I think like, hey, this is the best thing you've ever done.
Dustin's in like a feisty mood tonight.
Dude, I am feisty. I am feisty because if you had seen our social media, I watched a movie today that just royally pissed me the fuck off because it's so bad.
I saw it moments ago, and I can't wait to hear about it because
oh my god,
I was so close to watching it. Also,
don't do it.
And didn't get around to it because I love the Munsters.
I know, me too.
And
love the Munsters.
I'm gonna confess, Rob Zombie's not my first choice to recreate the Munsters.
No,
but it seemed like it would be fun.
But before I get mad at it again, Smile was fun. If you want a good like horror season, Smile was fun. Pretty standard horror film, but well done.
I don't know anything about it other than like
it was fun
guerrilla marketing that's been happening for it.
Yeah, which is excellent marketing, by the way.
Yeah.
But no, it's fun.
Okay.
And then, have you watched Dahmer? Have you made yourself sick by watching Dahmer?
I watched the first episode, and then I was like, that's good enough. I think we started the second one, and we're like, do we really care about this? I don't think so.
It is amazing. It's incredible. It is very on point. It's very accurate with a lot of what Dahmer did. To the point where one of my coworkers who just started watching it was like, he really did this stuff? He really ate? Like, yeah.
Where have you been? Have you
been
under a rock?
He's a young guy. Dahmer was incredible.
20-some different documentary movies and shows.
He's not the kind of person that follows that stuff. So it was excellent. It was incredible. I will never watch it again because I just feel like, wow, that was a bit much. Even knowing all, because I'm one of those weirdos that's watched all the documentaries. I've listened to all the true crime podcasts about him. I've watched the Dahmer tapes. Like watching that miniseries was like, you know what? I'm good.
Yeah, that makes sense. I really liked if you were a fan of this TV series or anything like that, you should check out the movie My Friend Dahmer. That one is like when he was a kid before he became like, what he did obviously, but they don't really talk about that. They talk about like his whole childhood and all this stuff and kind of leading up to it. And I thought that was really well done. Yeah.
Dahmer was incredible and intense. And I honestly, like when I finished it, the few people I've talked to about it, we all agreed. Evan Peters is incredible. He might be one of the best actors we have. I think he needs to take a break. I think he needs to go rest, clear his mind, get away from a lot of shit because he has played a lot of crazy murderous characters in his career.
Take a cruise, do something.
Yeah, he needs to take a break for his own, like, legit, all jokes aside, his own mental health. I think he needs to just like
for sure
take a breather.
Yeah,
we don't want him diving so deep into this stuff that he's like, Heath Ledger.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
So, but then I was like, oh, I got off work early today. I was like, I've got time. My notes are done. I'm gonna see it because I love the Munsters. That original series is one of the most like charming, silly, make you feel good no matter what episode you watch. It's so well done. I've been hesitant to watch The Monsters for a while, Rob Zombie's movie, because I was
Yeah.
like, it just doesn't look great. But maybe he'll do it justice because he claims
Yeah.
to be such this like lifelong massive fan.
Yeah. As soon as they were like, as soon as he said, I wanted to do it in black and white, but the studio wouldn't let me, I was like, no, I'm out. I'm like, The Monsters is not in color to me. Don't ever do this.
You know how like a common thing that people hear is writing comedy is hard. It's very difficult to pull off jokes.
Hardest thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's like comedians,
Mhm.
professional comedians saying comedy is very difficult to pull off.
Right.
When you are not a comedian and you only cast your wife, who's not the greatest actress,
Yeah.
don't at me. And you only cast actors that like are never going to get starring roles in anything.
Yeah. They're just like your friends.
Yeah. And you try to write a very silly slapstick family friendly movie, but your style of it. So it's still full of just like, this makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
The Monsters pissed me the fuck off. It's
Okay.
so bad. It's so horrible. I was so mad. I like walked away from it from a couple times and was like, nope, you're going to fucking finish it. Just do it. You're going to finish it. You're going to be mad. And sure shit. Then I was reminded it's supposed to be a prequel to the original series.
Mm.
And I was like, well, that pisses me off even more because the original series took place in, when was The Monsters? The 60s, right? 50s or 60s?
Maybe. I was going to say 50s. Let's do a show.
We're doing a quick fact check, folks.
Live fact check 64.
64. Okay.
Yeah.
Takes place in the 60s.
Yeah.
His prequel reboot
Mm-hmm.
has like techno music. They've got like live show signs in Transylvania. It's, oh my God, this movie's so fucking dumb. I was so mad at it. Like, I never chuckled. There was not one scene in the movie that I was like, oh, this feels like The Monsters. You almost had it. Not once. The whole time I was like, it's been a while since I've watched a movie that made me physically angry. And I was like, honestly, Jake, I thought about it. I was like, I may have just watched a movie I hate more than Open Water.
Finally.
Have just watched a movie that dethroned Open Water. I can't believe how bad The Monsters was. Can't believe it. Like,
yeah, I feel like I believe you. I would 100% feel the same way. It's kind of a thing. I'll probably watch it as like a train wreck thing, but I'm going to hate watch it because there's no way.
I think it'll make you mad too. Probably
I'm
not
sure.
as mad as it did me, but I think there's parts in it that you're going to be like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. It
was
sounds
so
like
bad.
somebody who had never seen The Monsters, let alone was a fan of it, and had only like heard about it from somebody before.
Judging from watching that movie, my take would have been he based everything off of seeing stills or quick little like Vine videos from old episodes and went, oh, I can write a whole story to that. And he fucked it all up.
Just
Rob,
like the aesthetic.
I like your music. Stick to that. Cause wow.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a downer. I already told you what I saw. Mostly I saw Hocus Pocus 2. I saw Red Notice finally.
Oh, dude, that movie's fun.
It is fun. Trying to bring it back up. The energy. It is fun. It's absurd how impossibly funny Ryan Reynolds is and charming. It's just disgusting. The Rock too. The Rock is great, and I felt like Gal Gadot is kind of underutilized in it. She was.
Well, they're making another one, so she's probably gonna be utilized more in the second
That's
one.
good. She's great. I mean, she's great in general.
Yes.
And then, so I would definitely like to see more of that. I'm into that. And then I finally saw, not finally, I guess it came out pretty recently, but Bodies, Bodies, Bodies.
Oh, yeah. I saw that.
I liked the idea of it, like at the end.
But it's really annoying, isn't it?
Yes. And it made me feel super old. I felt like a grandpa watching it.
Yes.
I'm not cool enough or Gen Z enough to really get most of the movie or care about the characters, really.
Dude, I didn't give a shit about any of the characters in that movie.
Yeah. I felt like it could have been a lot better. There was just some things about the writing that could have been easily made way better.
Yes.
But overall, the idea was there. It just wasn't well done.
And I do like that's one of those where the more I thought about like the jabs at Gen Z and woke culture, I thought that was funny. Mm-hmm. But after I've watched it, and I'm not going to watch it again to revisit those jokes because the movie is so annoying.
Yeah.
So annoying.
Yeah. Yeah. There was like a point where it kind of went on too long, where I was like spending too much time talking about woke culture. And I was like, I get it. This isn't part of the movie. This is like taking me out of it. It didn't fit, I guess. It just was weird.
Yeah. I knew that's what you were gonna say about the movie. When I saw it, I was like, Jake's gonna have the like same thought process as me.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
And he did.
Okay.
Well,
so
thank you for letting us do that tangent, folks. Now to the episode.
Yeah, so the episode is a little weird because we're also talking about new things that we haven't seen before, but it's at least things that we've wanted to see, as opposed to like the random 10 episodes where we're forced to see things. This episode is about, we each chose 10 movies we've been meaning to see. It's kind of an excuse for us to chip away at that list of movies.
It's one of those to finally be like, we're doing it. We're finally just going to sit and watch it. Just for me, and a couple of the movies, it'll be nice to get some people off of my back.
Yeah, there is some of that. I have a couple that are classics that I've heard great things about from people and just never seen. Kind of to mixed degrees. We'll get into that. And then I think a handful of mine are ones that I'm interested to see if you've even heard of or seen, because they're kind of weird, rarer ones. So maybe hidden gems, we'll see. But I'm excited.
Yeah, I picked a couple classics. And then a weird thing that I didn't realize as I compiled mine, I was like, wow, apparently I missed out on a lot of movies in 2014. Because I've got like almost half of the movies that I chose to watch for this episode were all 2014. And I was like, what the hell? But I think mine's a pretty decent list. And
I'll be the judge of that.
I will tell you, folks, I have a very unpopular opinion during this episode.
I love when that happens.
Hot take.
I have 3 movies from 2018 and 2 movies from 2014.
Okay.
And 1 movie from 2020.
Ooh.
And a movie from 1974 is my oldest one, I think.
Ha! I beat you. The oldest movie I have is from 1957.
Wow, the mid 1900s.
Yeah.
All right.
I've got 2 foreign films on my list.
Oh shit! I have 1 foreign film.
Oh, one of them I didn't.
And everything.
Nice. Yeah, one of them I did not know was a foreign film until it started playing, and I was like, oh, okay. I guess this is a foreign film.
I guess we're doing this.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's do this, dude, because I'm excited about the majority of my list.
Good. Yeah, me too. I only had a couple of ones where I'm like, I might never see that again. But most of them I'm like, that was nice. I'm glad that it lived up to expectations or even exceeded expectations.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, sir. You start this time.
Okay. I think I will start this time. So we ordered them in the order that we liked them. So unfortunately, the earlier ones are the ones we like less, but it is what it is. That gets better as it goes. That's the thing.
Man, for a second, I was like, I was going to list them in the order I watched them and then save how I ranked them for the end. But if you want to go over in the order, or like right out the gate,
we can do whatever we want.
We can do that. We can do that. That just means you'll get my hot take immediately. That's okay. I'm in a hot take kind of mood. Fuck it's you, true. Rob Zombie and the Monsters. Oh.
Okay, so my number 10 most like, I don't know what this is called. Movies that I've wanted to watch is actually the one from 2020 that kind of got lost in the hustle and bustle of the last couple of years with the virus and all this stuff going on. And it's one that I didn't know was as poorly received as it actually is, because I didn't know until I started watching it and looked it up on IMDb. It's currently at a 4.8 on IMDb. So people generally didn't like it, and I should have probably been warned. I don't think it's that bad. I don't think it's 4.8. I don't think it's below a 5, which is, I assume, average on their scale of 1 to 10. But I would be in like the 5.5 to 6 range, probably.
Okay.
It's not bad, not great, which is a lot of kind of the movies from this director. So my movie is The Tax Collector from 2020 with Shia LaBeouf.
Right?
Yeah. Written and directed by David Ayer, who kind of does those movies that are, I mean, he wrote Training Day and he directed Street Kings, and those are great.
I know those are great, excellent. But he did Suicide Squad and he did Fury.
Bright, the Will Smith fantasy cop movie.
I didn't even watch that one.
I did. The thing is that he always has like things that are kind of good, like they're good nuggets, but he doesn't put together a whole good movie most of the time.
Enough. Yeah.
End of Watch is kind of like that too. End of Watch is a great movie for about 80% of it, and then there's like 20% where there's the worst acting from these bad guys you've ever seen. And it completely takes you out of it. So The Tax Collector, I thought was generally good. Shia LaBeouf is the best part of the movie. He's surprisingly not the tax collector, though. I thought he was the main character. He's like the guy that works with the main character.
Oh, okay.
So that I think probably would have been better if it was Shia LaBeouf. I would have enjoyed it more. But overall, I thought it was pretty good and pretty cool. A lot of this, I think it was too short, is part of my problem with it.
Okay.
If it wasn't an hour and a half and it was maybe 2 hours, there's a lot of times where it kind of jumps too quickly to something happening or somebody dying, and you're like, whoa, why? How are they dying? Should I care? How did we get here? What's going on? And so it's a little messy, I guess, for that reason. Okay. But I liked the style. That was the main reason I was attracted to it. I like Shia LaBeouf, like, as this Mexican like guy in the suit with like this tattoos, and he's collecting taxes from all these gangs. It's a very violent subculture of LA. It's just a kind of a cool gangster movie, and it's violent and it's cool. Okay. So I thought it was not bad, but I didn't love it.
Okay. Okay. Well,
hot take time.
Hot take time. Like we said just a few minutes ago, we both put classics on our list. And this is one, like, I knew I wanted a couple classics. I just wasn't sure which ones to pick. And after I watched Blonde, heaping pile of shit, I was like, you know what? I haven't seen all of Marilyn Monroe's stuff. I'm going to watch one of her movies, because her movie, Some Like It Hot, is one of my favorite comedies ever.
Yeah.
But then I thought, no, because I'm still kind of bitter about Blonde, so I'm not going to watch Marilyn Monroe. So then I thought to myself, well, I haven't seen a lot of Audrey Hepburn films.
Okay.
Like, I've seen Charade, and I've seen My Fair Lady, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
What other Audrey Hepburn? Because she is held in such high regard. I mean, she is. Yeah. So I was like, you know what's crazy?
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen her most iconic film, Breakfast at Tiffany's. I was like, I'm totally going to watch Breakfast at Tiffany's. I've never seen it. It's my classic. This will be great. That movie sucks. Oh my God.
Yeah, people go apeshit for Breakfast at Tiffany's, and I personally don't love it either. I think
that
Roman Holiday.
So bad.
Roman Holiday is much better.
Okay,
but Breakfast at Tiffany's, people.
I don't get it. I was like, her character is a horrible human being.
Yeah,
his character is kind of a horrible human being, and he's a sucker. Which kind of made me mad too, because I was like, all right, he's kind of like every guy who like decides to be a good dude and invest in something and have it thrown in his face.
Yeah.
All right. I can kind of sympathize with him. She's just a bitch to him for like most of the movie. She just uses him the whole time. And I was very confused. It was like 2/3 of the way through the movie, and I found myself going, what the fuck is this movie about? Like, she's a socialite. Is she rich? A call girl who doesn't actually sleep with men? Is he like a gigolo? Is what the fuck? I don't get the appeal, folks. I really don't. Like, don't at me. You're not going to change my opinion. I don't get the appeal. The movie sucked. The best part of the movie was the very end.
When the credits rolled.
No, like I will give the final like 5 minutes. The whole, if you haven't seen it, I'll still try not to spoil it. But the whole cab ride.
Yeah.
Don't worry, folks. It doesn't spoil anything. The cab ride, I was like, okay, this part, it doesn't redeem this movie. Yeah. But at least I found something positive to say. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it. I was like, she's way better in Charade than she was in this movie. I don't understand
better.
How this movie became such an iconic, like, I mean, Breakfast at Tiffany's is everywhere to this day.
Yeah.
If you want like film posters or something, the famous cover is one of the first things you're ever going to find. I just don't get it. I don't get it.
I think that it just... It has nothing to do with the content of the movie. It has everything to do with how massively iconic Audrey Hepburn is, and just the idea. People like the idea of being rich and wearing Tiffany diamonds and all of this stuff, and having like her dress, her long cigarette. That whole like vibe is kind of a thing that I think people like. But that's it. It has nothing to do with the story.
That movie's so bad. I was so bummed out. Do you realize how bummed I was? Because I was like bitter about Blonde, and I didn't want to tarnish Marilyn Monroe anymore. And I was like, you know what? Audrey Hepburn, safe pick. She's iconic. She's like a Hollywood queen. I mean, gorgeous, talented, shoo-in. I was so mad. I was like, this sucks.
They're ruining everything I love about Hollywood.
I was like, God damn it.
It's amazing. I love that you picked that, and I kind of love that it was a terrible experience. Have you seen Roman Holiday?
Yeah.
Roman Holiday.
I did. Okay, I did see Roman Holiday. Sorry, I watched that with my dad.
Okay.
Not that long ago, actually. I think just a little bit before moving down here to Texas. So yeah, I have seen Roman Holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was fun. I didn't expect that. All right. My next movie is one of the classics, and it also did not fare well on my list, as you can tell. I would never have given this movie a consideration until maybe the last year or two. It's just like been coming up of like, oh, this movie is actually great, or these directors have the list of their favorite movies and it's one of their favorites, and I'm like, really, this movie? So my movie is Boogie Nights from 1997.
That's a terrible movie.
I know it sucks.
That's a terrible movie.
So, I see it all over though. Quentin Tarantino has it as one of his favorites, and I'm like, all of these, I've seen it in a couple of places. And I'm like, that movie, the movie about porn stars in the 70s.
You get to see Mark Wahlberg's giant fake dick in the mirror. Like, what?
Okay, I didn't know that part, but I do feel like the entire point of the 2.5 hour, 3 hour movie, however long it is that they talk about how big his dick is for 2.5 hours.
For 2.5 hours.
And then they show you a giant flaccid dong for 10, 15 seconds at the end of the movie as the last shot of the movie. And you're like, well, that happened. It's just the whole point of the movie that it was building up to it. And I didn't.
Boogie Nights, I don't. That's another one. I don't get the appeal because you're right. It has massive appeal.
Yeah.
And I don't understand. I saw it when I saw it in high school when I was working at that video store.
Mm-hmm.
I rented it because it had, I mean, the cast is amazing.
Yeah.
And I really, I'm in the minority where I really like the movie Magnolia, which is directed by the same guy. And I was
Paul
like,
Thomas Anderson. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, this should be I'm gonna watch it. It's supposed to be great, intense, crazy, like push the boundaries.
Yeah.
And all I remember from that movie was just being like, this is so boring and dumb.
Yeah.
And I remember the one scene when they're filming a scene. Burt Reynolds is the director.
Yeah.
And it's Wahlberg and Julianne Moore are filming the scene. And Reynolds keeps telling him, like, don't you fucking come in her. Don't fucking come in her. And then they're filming and she goes, come at me. That's the only, and then the last shot of the movie, like you said. And I'm like, if that's the only two parts that I remember from that film,
yeah,
I'm kind of bummed out because that scene with Reynolds directing them is so awkward. It's so like cringe.
Yeah.
It's so cringy.
Yeah.
And then, the final 15 seconds of the movie where you're like, are we really just holding on this shot? Is this really what we're doing?
Yeah, like the idea is interesting. Like I get the appeal of wanting to make a movie about these people, all of them damaged in their own way, and kind of in this porn industry for that reason. And that kind of makes sense. But yeah, the overall story is just nothing to really care about. I did really like Don Cheadle's character and his arc, which you probably don't remember.
I totally forgot Don Cheadle was even in that.
Don Cheadle's in it. He starts out as like a porn star, but he's also like working at like this music store, like music equipment, speakers and stuff. And then he wants to like open a store, and he ends up marrying like one of his porn star co-star actress ladies, and they have like kids, and he like, I don't know, his whole like arc is like the best part of the whole movie. And William H. Macy is kind of like a cuckold whose wife is sleeping with him, with everybody else but him, and then he goes crazy and kills her and himself. And that part is mildly interesting.
How did
the
I
rest
forget
of the
that
movie? Yeah, John C. Reilly's in it. He's also just like
the cast is amazing. That movie is just not good. It's not good.
Paul Thomas Anderson makes a lot of weird movies, and the more I watch of them, the more I'm like, maybe I just like There Will Be Blood and that's it. Maybe I don't like any of your other movies. That's entirely possible.
That is a fair point. Yeah, I have no rebuttal to that. I really don't. Fair point, sir. Fair point.
All right.
Oh, well, my ninth one is my other classic film. I was kind of bummed that it showed up where it was. Actually, I'm going to give this one a little bit of grace. It only ended up as like my ninth one, so low ranked, simply because I just enjoyed all the other ones more.
Okay,
and
that's good.
It did. I think it could have been told better, but I still like the idea. I don't know. There's some of it that whatever. Anyway, so this happened to be a foreign film from Sweden, which is what I did not know.
Okay.
And it's super iconic. Everyone has seen the painting that the whole movie is based off of, and everyone has seen the screenshot that's super famous from this movie. So I watched The Seventh Seal. It's the movie where the Swedish knight plays chess with death.
Yeah, I love that shot of them playing chess on the beach.
So they don't just play chess on the beach. They like move.
Yeah. Like
playing spots. It's definitely an interesting movie. I really don't have too much negative to say about it. Like I said, it only ended up so low just because the other movies, they just hit me on a different level than this one did. It's a cool idea. It's this knight returning right after the Crusades. He's been gone for a decade and he comes back home, but the Black Plague has spread. So his home is like all infected, and him and his squire come across some actors who are trying to survive. They come across a guy whose wife abandons him, and he just kind of joins their little party. And the whole time, this knight is playing chess with death. It's an interesting movie. It definitely helps question a lot of things. So it puts into question mortality. Obviously, the knight is trying to play chess to postpone his dead. or his death.
Literally beat death.
Yeah. And the whole while he's questioning the point of the Crusades, him and his squire. Like his squire flat out comes out and is like, the Crusade was insane. It was so stupid. Like that's a line is the Crusades were stupid. Only an idealist would have forced everyone to do this. And they're like, well, did you see who it was? And you're like, ooh, that feels like a shot at someone.
Yeah.
It's an interesting movie. It definitely makes you question like faith, whether you believe in stuff or not, which I thought was interesting. Some of the imagery is really dark for that time period that I was like, I'm kind of shocked they're showing this, but that's cool.
57.
Yeah, it's worth a watch, especially if you like watching some of those super old movies. It's very slow, but that helps add the story. I just think the editing is actually probably the movie's biggest fault, but I put like a little asterisk to that just because of the time period.
Yeah.
And they're still, and it's like an independent foreign film.
They're still figuring it out. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was not filmed with a big budget. I think they filmed the whole movie in like less than a month, if I remember right. So,
okay.
But interesting film. I'm glad I finally watched it to see where that, the screenshots, the context of the screenshots are now.
Yeah.
And death is kind of playful in that movie. Like the dude goes to collect a soul and he chops a tree down to kill the guy. And the guy's even like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm cutting the tree down. Like, whoa.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Very interesting movie. So
I'm a fan of Max von Sydow, but I've only ever seen him as like an old man actor.
Yeah. He's young.
It would be interesting to see it for that reason. Also, I've been meaning to see it for a long time. I haven't seen it. I've been meaning to see it mostly so that I can get the jokes in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey better.
Yeah.
That will add to your enjoyment of Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey if you've seen The Seventh Seal.
Yes. And I felt a little bad because there's a certain scene where you're like, oh my God, I've now seen where the joke from Monty Python, the Holy Grail, with the guys walking through the villages, smacking themselves in the head or the bring out your dead stuff. It turns out they got that material from the Seventh Seal. And I felt kind of bad when I giggled. And it was like, this is not funny right now.
Yeah. Well, they also got it from the Black Plague, which actually happened in real life.
Which it did happen, but they definitely take inspiration from the Seventh Seal.
Yeah, I can see that.
But not bad. I'm glad I watched it. I did not hate it. I probably won't like preach it to anybody. It's an interesting watch, though. I'll say that.
Yeah, it's kind of a movie for movie nerds. So you have to be able to say you have seen it.
It does have that where you're like, well, I've seen the Seventh Seal. Have you? And most people these days would be like, what the hell is that?
Okay. I feel like that one could be remade because it's so old.
It could.
Maybe
and I had that thought of like, man, I'm kind of shocked they haven't remade it. And I also had the same thought of like, the remake would be horrendous because they would try to go so overboard with like Death moving about, Death giving him his reprieve in between moves to like go through. There is a really interesting part of the story where the knight kind of takes it on his shoulders to trick Death, but not necessarily to lengthen his life. He tricks Death trying to do one last great deed for someone. And I thought that was an interesting...
It's noble of that night.
Yeah, I thought that was a really interesting little moment. I'm kind of glad they haven't remade it because I think they would just try too hard and they would miss the whole point.
Probably. That happens a lot.
Yes.
All right. I just realized that I do actually have 2 foreign films because my next one is my first foreign film.
Hey!
And it was in English, so I forgot that it was a foreign film. It's hard to tell sometimes.
So you're going on a technicality. That's what you're saying.
It's not a technicality. It was made in another country. It's made in New Zealand.
It's a technicality.
It's completely foreign from the United States of America and Hollywood. and it's from 2014. I don't know if anybody else has seen it. I think it's on Netflix, but I've been meaning to watch it for a long time, obviously. It's called Housebound.
Oh, dude, that movie is fun.
It is fun. It's it's a horror comedy, which I feel like are generally kind of harder to do. You either are not that funny or not that scary. I felt like it balanced it well.
But
It
it's
actually
a silly
had
movie.
It's like, so it's about like this girl who is forced to move back in with her family because she's under house arrest, and then apparently her parents' house is like haunted or something because her mom thinks it's haunted, and so she thinks she's living with like this ghost and stuff. And yeah, it's funny, it's clever, it's like in New Zealand, so it's dry humor, and it works a lot better than I think a normal, actually wet humor movie happened. I don't know. But I liked the horror side of it. I liked the ghost parts, the like supernatural parts, and then just the mystery of it, like the murders and the mystery and all this stuff. It's a fun movie. I think it's a good movie for like Halloween, which is coming up, to just have on. I would definitely watch Housebound again. I liked it a fair amount.
You know, it's funny that you watched it.
Yeah.
I was literally 2 days ago telling a coworker to go check out Housebound.
Oh, nice.
He's like, no joke, dude. We were talking about movies, and I was like, you know what one you should check out? Because we were talking about another movie, and it reminded me of Housebound. I was like, you got to check out Housebound. It's a New Zealand movie. It's an oddball. It's a fun watch. Like, it's nothing great. It's nothing spectacular, super special, but it's fun.
It's a good time.
I think that's hilarious that you watch it. I just got done like recommending it to people.
That's amazing.
That was fun, dude. I really enjoyed that movie. And that's still a technicality because when people hear the phrase foreign film, they expect foreign language, not like, oh, it was made in another country.
Whatever. Maybe you think that. I think of foreign films like I think of foreign people. Anybody who's not from America is a foreigner. Wow. And that's not a bad thing. You just have to make your movies over there for it to be a foreign movie.
Well, unlike your last movie, mine is a foreign film and in a foreign language. It's my second.
Always one-upping me. What the hell?
Hell yeah. This is one. It's a German film from 2014 that or an Austrian film. Sorry. It's an Austrian film.
Completely different.
No. How dare I? I'm sorry. To our Austrian audience out there.
Anyway. They're going to be very upset at next week's episode. Carry on.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. So it's one, I saw the preview. It's an independent horror film, and I was like, I really want to watch it because the preview alone was super like mysterious and odd and unsettling, honestly. And I got excited about that. And then I just lost track of the movie, which kind of makes sense being independent, foreign, and horror.
You never know when those will come out.
And so I lost track of it, but it's one that I've like always kept in the back of my head. Of like, I really want to watch that. Hopefully I can come across it one of these days and be able to watch it. I came across it, and I also was like kind of reminded of it because Amazon Prime just did a remake of it.
Okay.
And I was like, oh shit, it's that one. So I watched the original Goodnight Mommy, which is about this mom who has twin sons. She comes, excuse me, she returns home from getting reconstructive surgery on her face. So her face is wrapped up for the entire film. And the sons quickly start to suspect that their mom is not the one that came home.
Oh,
and
that's
so
a good idea.
The kids like try to provoke her to get the truth out of her to find out, like, are you actually our mom and you just kind of lost your mind, or are you something completely different? It's a slow burn. It's an unsettling movie. And I will tell you this. One, it's not scary. It's weird. But I have to give this movie credit
Mhm.
because it throws something at you that I never would have even seen coming. And when
Okay.
it did, I was literally sitting on my couch watching it, and it happened, and I was like, oh shit, what?
I love when that happens.
I do too, and a lot of movies don't do that to me anymore, but
Yeah.
this one really did. It's not great. There's definitely some moments in the movie where, like, when you finish it, you're kind of, well, that part doesn't make sense with anything that they tell you later on. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So you got to kind of just enjoy it with a pinch of salt, right?
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it. It was
Okay.
worth the watch. I wasn't bummed. The only thing I was really bummed about was like, man, why did it take me so long? And then I was like, you know what? I'm curious now because I bet I can predict people's reaction to the American remake of it on Prime. I bet they fucking hate it. Sure enough, people were up in arms about the Prime version.
Yeah.
And
that
it made
happens a lot. That happens a lot, it seems like, especially when there's a very cool, interesting, successful foreign movie, and they're like, let's just remake it in America. And everybody's like, no, I don't care.
Right, like, don't do it. You're going to try too hard, and you're going to fail. I didn't bother to watch the remake. I'm not going to, because I feel it will really ruin the effect of this movie. So if you come across
significantly lower rated on IMDb.
Yeah. If you come across Goodnight Mommy, the Austrian original from 2014, I would highly recommend it. It's an interesting film.
Okay.
It's a little disturbing. There's a couple scenes that'll make your tummy go, ew, but it's a cool movie.
Okay. I'm very intrigued just on the premise. I love a good premise. So
yes,
that's a good idea. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. My next movie is from 1996, and I wouldn't say it's a classic, though it does have classic actors that we love. I love, and it's one of the very few movies from Val Kilmer that I have never seen before. I love Val Kilmer.
96 Val Kilmer.
Oh, let's see if we can get it. This is a fun game.
Oh, shit. I feel like you would have seen this movie. 96, so it's definitely not The Doors, because that was like way earlier than that.
Yeah, and that was like his breakout movie.
Is it Thunderheart?
No. Good guess, though. Deep cut on the Val Kilmer fan page.
Is it? Wait. Is Michael Douglas in it?
Mm-hmm.
You watched The Ghost in the Darkness. That movie
I sure did.
As shit, dude.
It is cool as shit. Yeah, I never heard of this movie until like a couple years ago, and I was like, that sounds awesome, because I love Val Kilmer, and I really like Michael Douglas, especially 90s movies like this. And yeah, so I watched The Ghost in the Darkness, which it takes place in 1898 Africa. It's basically like Jaws in the savannah, where there's these lions who are ripping apart these people trying to build a train railroad track, and they just try to stop them, and they can't because they're lions and they're badass. And it's awesome. It's really, really cool. There's interesting like context around it too, because I think most people don't know. I didn't know until recently that England was one of the first countries to like ban slavery, and a lot of their colonization of Africa, which a lot of people shit on, had a lot to do with them trying to get Africa to stop selling slaves. Like they have been enslaving their own people and shipping them around the world for decades, and they're like, hey, no, knock it off. And so they like, it's not a big part of the movie that they just like have a couple of lines of context to be like, we're trying to settle Africa and like end slavery. And I'm like, that's interesting, because I had never really heard a movie talk about that before. But yeah, everything about it, the shots, the suspense, the savannah, it's really, really good. Val Kilmer is really, really good. Michael Douglas plays like an American. So Val Kilmer is a British guy. He's like a British engineer building the railroad. And then Michael Douglas is an American hunter who shows up pretty late in the story, but he is a hunter who helps them hunt the lion, obviously. Yeah. Lions, there's two of them, the Ghost and the Darkness. And yeah, It's brutal. There's some brutal parts, which I enjoyed thoroughly. I didn't expect, and this is one of several movies which was much more violent than I thought it would be. But it's good. It's really good, and I will definitely see it again.
It is a cool movie. I saw that. I was pretty young when I watched that movie, and I remember learning about that story, like the real story and the real life, because it happens to be based on some actual events where there were these two lions that weren't eating. They weren't hunting like normal. They were literally just going around picking people off.
Yeah.
Like slaughtering them.
Yeah. They're like, oh, they should be full. They've eaten 2 people recently. And they're like, guess what? We're back again.
What's up, motherfuckers?
Yeah. We're going to kill some more people.
Sorry, neighbors. Sorry. I'm not sorry, guys. Nope. Yeah, Ghost in the Darkness. I love that movie. I love the music in that movie. I love... Yeah, there are some, like, genuinely suspenseful scenes in that movie, which I think is really cool. Yeah, check out Ghost in the Dark. I'm so glad. That's one I would have thought you had seen a long time ago.
Yeah, I probably should have, for sure.
Especially being a Kilmer fan.
I'm a Kilmer head. I love him.
Yeah. Oh, Ghost in the Darkness is so good. Man, I might watch that tomorrow. It's not a horror movie.
No.
But
it's suspenseful.
But it's suspenseful.
It is just, like, I got heavy Jaws vibes watching. Yeah. Just like, you don't know where they're coming from. The shot really well. The editing is really good. And then you'll just see like a tail going through the grass and you're like, oh shit.
There is one sequence in that movie, folks. I won't tell you what it is, because if you haven't seen it, you should go see it. But there is a sequence in that movie that every time I watch it, it is the part where I'm like, oh my God.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I was like, they're not going there, are they?
Yeah, you're like, this is, oh man. Oh, check out Ghost in the Darkness, guys. Jake, I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
Well, unlike yours, mine is not a suspenseful movie about murderous demonic lions killing and slaughtering.
It's a small subgenre, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was.
Mine is a very dry Napoleon Dynamite style comedy.
Okay.
Independent. In fact, it's directed by the guy that did Napoleon Dynamite.
Okay.
And it's written and directed by Jared Hess, and it stars Jermaine Clement from The Flight of the Conchords. It was one that I remember when the preview came out, it looked so weird, and I saw the preview right after I had finished watching Flight of the Conchords, so I was still very fresh in my fandom of Jermaine Clement and The Flight and Brett McKenzie.
Yeah.
Still a massive fan, by the way.
Right.
Love them.
Obviously.
And so I've always wanted to watch it, just never have gotten around to it because it's such a odd comedy that it's hard to like pick the mood you're in to watch it, right?
Yeah.
So it's called Gentlemen Broncos, and it's about this young kid who writes the most ridiculous sci-fi like story, and he goes to a science fiction writing convention where his favorite author, Jermaine Clement's character, is a like keynote speaker there, and he submits his story to possibly get purchased or at least like promoted.
Yeah. Okay.
And his favorite author ends up stealing his story and rewriting it and publishing it under his name while ruining this kid's life.
Okay.
It's so weird. It's funny. It's very enjoyable. If you like Napoleon Dynamite, Nacho Libre, Flight of the Conchords, you're going to find something to enjoy in this movie. If you don't like that kind of humor, stay far, far away.
Yeah.
Because you thought Napoleon Dynamite had dry humor in it? Wow. It gets a little worse.
Okay.
But
interesting.
It's funny. Sam Rockwell is in it. So they splice like ridiculous scenes from this kid's story into the movie and Sam Rockwell plays the title character of this kid's story named Bronco.
Nice.
And it's so ridiculous. But my favorite kind of like moments in the movie are the kind of background little things that happen, or the quick split second jokes that'll happen that if you blink and you miss it. The best is this chick, he's running through this room holding a pillow, and he runs past this girl who's just in the middle of a conversation, and she gets tagged in the face by the pillow, and her reaction to it, and the fact that he doesn't even notice, he just continues on his way. I mean, it's a millisecond scene.
Yeah.
And there's no context to it. He just hits this chick in the face with the pillow. It made me laugh out loud. I was like, and it's early in the movie too. That happened. I was like, oh, I'm going to enjoy this movie.
It sounds a lot like Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah, it's an odd movie, but I enjoyed it. It's fun, crazy dry humor. I would probably watch this one, not all the time, but it's definitely. I loved it. I really did. I thought it was great.
That's awesome. Yeah, I feel like I saw a trailer ages ago. It sounds a little familiar, but I've definitely never seen it, so I should check it out.
Yeah, it came out in 2009, so it's been a minute.
Yeah,
but 13 years.
Yeah, a little bit of time has passed, more than it feels like.
Yeah.
Okay. My next movie, I was gonna say that I didn't realize I have 3 foreign movies, but you just said this doesn't count because it's from Australia. So I still only have the one that I'm aware of that's foreign language.
I feel like there's a little bit of bitterness behind that.
Yes. I want to feel cultured that I have 3 foreign movies.
You're cultured, Jake. You're cultured.
Thank you. It's an Australian picture filmed in Australia with an Australian film house, distributed in the rest of the world by A24. They make pretty good stuff, or distribute good stuff. I have no idea how I even heard of this movie, but I've been meaning to get around to watching it. It came out in 2014.
Is this one of the weird ones you were curious if I've even heard of it?
Maybe. I feel like you would have heard of this because there's 2 actors that I know you love, so you probably have been paying attention to them. So it's called The Rover, and it stars Guy Pearce and Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
And
heard of it, haven't watched it.
Okay.
I should have watched that this week instead of Breakfast at Tiffany's.
It's true. It's true. I do think you would like it. I didn't know anything else that this writer-director has done. David Mitchell. He's most known for The King from 2019 on Netflix with Timothée Chalamet. I never watched it either. But everything else I had never heard of. But overall, The Rover is about... it takes place 10 years after this global economic collapse has happened. And they're in Australia. Guy Pearce is a guy that has a car, and he's just like kind of living his life. But obviously everybody's poor as shit. And he has his car get stolen, kind of like in a Mad Max style scene where these guys just roll up, find a car parked there, steal it. And it's like the only possessions he has and everything he cares about in the world. So he tries to get his car back from them. And that's basically the whole movie. He's following them. He's trying to get his car back. He meets Robert Pattinson, who's actually the brother of one of those guys and is injured. He's been shot. And so he's like struggling with, I want to use him to find my car, but also you're the bad guy and all this stuff. So overall, it's like really slow and drawn out and methodical and quiet. But I really, really liked it. There's also like really tense parts and a lot more violence than I expected. And a lot of people get killed in this movie. But it's kind of like a cross between if The Road and Mad Max had a baby.
Oh, okay.
This movie.
Oh, shit.
It's post-apocalyptic. Everybody's trying to survive. Everybody's doing kind of different things to try to survive, and it's just about this one guy who's trying to travel through, get his car back, and it's really, really good. Robert Pattinson and Guy Pearce obviously carry the whole thing.
Yeah,
they're phenomenal. But I liked the story. I thought it was interesting, and I'm a sucker for like when they think through the world really well. like in Children of Men, just like all the background things that are happening, or the details or the reasons. Like you don't really think about like why are they doing it that way because of everything else that's happened. And so like nobody accepts Australian money. Everybody only takes American money because like their economy has collapsed and all this stuff. It's just stuff like that. It's really, really interesting movie, and I liked it quite a lot. I wouldn't say it's for everybody because it is slow, but it is really good.
All right. Yeah, I remember hearing about it, and I remember actually it was around the time that I watched Good Time.
Yeah.
And The Lighthouse and stuff, where people were coming out and being like, if you love Pattinson in these kinds of roles or in these movies, you need to watch him in The Rover. It's one that like everyone missed. But he shines. So I have wanted to see it, but
yeah. And since you're a Guy Pearce fan of The Proposition, which is in Australia as well, it's kind of like in his Australian kick.
Well, and Guy Pearce, I mean, he's in one of my favorite Westerns ever, which is also in Australian, The Proposition.
Exactly.
Yeah. Very, very curious to watch that movie. And slow burns are good, folks. I know some people are like, dude, some of those slow burns are excellent. So
yeah. Studios need to let directors make the movies like long enough so that they can be what they want them to be and not try to rush it.
Yeah. Yes, folks, that's another shot at Warner Brothers.
Always. Every episode has to have that.
Every episode. Well, my next one was one that I remember seeing the preview. It's from 2013.
Okay.
And it's one of those movies where I remember when I saw the preview, just kind of having that gut feeling of like, ooh, that one's probably going to give you a little bit of the tingles, because the whole premise of the movie is kind of like your life sucks. You've been down the dumps, and now you got to try and find your way back up. And it's all done through music, which I'm a huge supporter of music being used as like a therapeutic tool and all that. So this is one that I've always known was going to do that to me, and that's why I kept putting it off, because it was like, I don't want to watch a movie that might like make me get all gooey inside, even though I like movies like that. But there was a summer I was like, not right now.
I have that all the time.
It's very good. There's a couple parts of the story that I was like, could have done without that, but the film overall is actually really, really well done. It's called Begin Again.
Yeah,
it's with Mark Ruffalo and Keira Knightley.
Yeah.
Ruffalo plays this guy. He owns a music production company. Well, co-owns it, but he hasn't been able to find like a hit in years, and he kind of is told at the beginning of the movie, like, you're done, we're gonna fire you. And he's an borderline alcoholic. His daughter and his ex-wife kind of like resent him. They like he's an obligation to the kid. And Keira Knightley plays the girlfriend of a rising music star, played by Adam Levine, Maroon 5 guy.
Yeah, the one who's in trouble right now. His career's taking off, and he dumps her out of the blue, so she's kind of all depressed and bummed out, but she's also a songwriter, and the two meet, and they kind of like, they come up with this really cool way of recording her music that kind of rejuvenates like the love of music and just kind of an appreciation of like life. It's pretty cliched, but they do it in a really cool way. I really enjoyed this movie. I was like, oh, it doesn't make you cry. You don't get all like sappy, or at least super sappy, but it genuinely makes you feel good. Okay.
And I like that. I found myself, this happened with a bunch of my movies this week, where it was like, they made you feel good. You just felt a little more positive, a little more optimistic about stuff. And I was like, wow, this was an overall. But yeah, Begin Again. Check it out. Especially if it's got really good music in it too.
Yeah.
The Adam Levine, the Maroon 5 stuff, like that was the part of the movie that I thought, some of it gets dragged out a little bit too much, and he tries really hard to be like a good part of the movie, and I was just kind of like, I don't know if it's because I'm just not a big fan of you, or if it's just that it feels like your agent told you need to get in a movie just to be everywhere, and so they threw you in this. I don't know.
Totally.
Yeah, but I enjoyed it. It was good. I can forgive him for being in it, or forgive his part for being in it. But yeah, I enjoyed it.
It's nice to have like a feel good movie that it actually makes you feel good. That's always good.
Yeah, and it's so when they record her album, they record it live and outside, like throughout New York City. So they record it in alleyways, on rooftops. They record a song while she's rowing like a little boat. I really like how they record it, and the whole idea was like, make it real, like just enjoy it, be in the moment and stuff. So it's
not
cool.
Too studio produced.
Yeah. I would highly recommend it, actually. Just whether you feel like you need something to kind of rejuvenate stuff, or you just want to feel good, it's a good movie. It really was a great movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. My next movie is my other classic.
Okay.
And it's one that I hear about a lot. I've heard about it a lot. I know that you're a big fan of crime movies and detective movies, and this is kind of one of those that I've always felt guilty for not watching. And then I watched it, and I was kind of like, that's the thing that everybody's been saying is incredible this whole time. It's not bad.
Well, you got it. I've kind of high on your list.
I've got it up here mostly because I did like it, and there were parts of it that I really liked, and then there were parts of it I was like, it's not like art, like life changing, like mind blowing, or whatever. But I do also think that it's the kind of movie that could grow on me the more I watch it. So I liked it a good amount. I think that I will like it more over time. And I think a big part of it is I liked the nostalgia of it.
Okay.
It's very much in the style of like 40s and 50s detective movies. So my movie that I have at the number 5 spot is Chinatown, 1974.
I've never seen it.
Yeah. Directed by Roman Polanski, stars Jack Nicholson and Faye Dunaway. And yeah, Jack Nicholson is like a private detective who takes on a case, and there's like this whole conspiracy that happens around water in the city of LA. I got a lot of like True Detective season 2 vibes from it, basically. So probably inspired by this movie. But it is, as soon as you pop it in, it doesn't feel like a movie from 1974. It feels like a movie from the 40s, just in color. For some reason, the opening credits, everything is perfectly nostalgic and an homage to all of those great like 40s, 50s detective movies. Jack Nicholson's great. Young Jack Nicholson, I haven't seen a ton of, and so I would really like to see more. But the overall like story and everything, it's like I didn't just like get as sucked in like by the mystery, I guess. It was more of like, here's a guy who's trying to solve this case for this lady, and some people are who they say they are, and some people aren't who they say they are, and he just kind of figures it out over time. But it's fun. There's some really cool like editing, so maybe it was like groundbreaking for that reason or something. I haven't looked into it a lot, but there's really interesting like editing where he's like looking through binoculars or a camera or whatever, and they like superimpose the image of what he's looking at on like the lens. I
always like that kind of trick in movies.
It looked like really good or interesting, especially in this one. So there was things like that where I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's cool. I like that. So there was enough of those. I was like, I like the movie. I probably will like it more and more as I watch it, though.
Yeah, I remember my dad saying kind of exactly what you did, where he was like, everyone loved Chinatown. I just never thought it was that great. It was like, it's good, but it's just not what people built it up to be. So I never saw it.
Yeah.
All right. But it's good to know that it's the kind that you could see growing on you and you becoming like a big fan of down the road. I like it when you see movies like that where you're like, ooh, it didn't hit me quite that much right now, but I wonder if I watch it in a year or two. It happens to me all the time where like I'll see a movie in a theater, find it on sale after it comes out, and I'm like, or it's on Netflix or Hulu or whatnot, and I'm like, I guess I'll watch this one again. And then I find myself just like, oh, I love this movie. I did it with The Witch. I hated The Witch the first time we saw it.
Hated it with a passion.
Seriously. And then I rewatched it with the subtitles because you kind of need to. And was like, I get it. This movie's brilliant. And now Robert Eggers is one of my favorite guys.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, same here.
That's really cool though. Like I've always been curious to watch it, but I've never felt super driven to watch it simply based off of my dad just being like, he's like, there's better Nicholson out there. And I've just kind of always chalked it to that.
Yeah, so. I would say that as well. I would say there's also better detective movies out there, Private Detective or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. So now you have two people saying that.
Now I have two people saying it. Well, my next one is another movie that just got lost in the cracks by like audiences in general. No one went and saw it. It came out kind of during the height of Joaquin Phoenix's resurgence, like towards the beginning of it. But it was one that I was always very curious about. I remember seeing stuff for it while he was filming Joker. And I think that's where it just got lost, was all the Joker hype overtook everything. As it should have. Joker is amazing.
Right.
Wow. But this one always struck me as being kind of an interesting movie. So it's him and John C. Reilly. It's a Western.
Oh, yeah. I have seen this movie.
You've seen this? Okay, so it's called The Sisters Brothers.
Yes.
And I was very excited to watch this. And when we made this one of our episodes, I knew I'm watching The Sisters Brothers. I'm going to find it and I'm going to watch it. Dude, I really, really enjoyed this movie.
Yeah, I did too. Especially talking about Westerns last week. I forgot about it until you just brought it up. And I was like, oh yeah, they were in a movie together. This is a great movie.
It was so good. And I love how they handle certain situations. I think some of the storytelling gets a little kind of tripped up because they try to do a couple misdirects on it, but they don't do anything with them. But I thought this is it's an interesting story. It's got a few silly moments, but it's not like a legit comedy. It just has a couple moments where you're like, they're brothers that bicker, and it's the Old West. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And dude, Joaquin Phoenix as a cowboy, I was like, he shockingly fits this look, this aesthetic, almost too well. It fits him.
I was just like looking at the stills because I kind of forgot about this movie. And when he wears like a coonskin cap, you're like, that totally works for you.
When he's just in the shirt with the overall, like the suspenders and stuff, it works for him. I'm like, shit, man. Yeah, Sisters Brothers. I really enjoyed this movie. Like, I kind of was worried that I was gonna think, like it's not that great. But when it ended and the credits were rolling, I was like, dude, that was great. I love how they handled the whole quote unquote climax. Go watch it, folks. You'll get it.
I like when you said how they handle certain situations, because there are a few times that I remember they get into like a shootout or they get into some awkward, like you're in the Old West, you're trying to survive on the frontier situation, and the way that they handle it or have a conversation about it, or you kind of, they point out, this is a little awkward that we are this close or whatever. It's just like the situations they're in is handled in kind of a different way that feels real, like more real than most Westerns.
And then I had to laugh because none of the movie was shot in the States. It was all shot in France. Made by a French director. This is his first English speaking film.
Amazing.
And I was like, man, it felt like a Western to me. I watched it right after we did our Western movie draft, but I couldn't post anything about it because I was like, I'm going to talk about it on the show. So I'm not posting about it yet. But
it's like, I've never heard of a French Western. It's not a spaghetti Western. It's like a baguette Western.
It's a baguette Western.
That's amazing. When you said that you were wanting to watch a Joaquin Phoenix movie from right before Joker and one that got lost, I thought that we were going to have an almost overlap.
Oh, shit.
I had another movie that I was like, if I don't like one of the movies enough to finish it or whatever, I'll pull in this reserve one. Because I have never seen You Were Never Really Here with Joaquin Phoenix.
Almost watched that.
So I had it in like my 11th spot and I was going to watch it. And so I was like, maybe that's what he's about to talk about.
No, but I had it on my list of like, I think I'm going to watch this one. And then I was like, no, I'm going to try not to have 2 Joaquin Phoenix films on my list. I'll pick one. So I picked The Sisters Brothers. That's hilarious, though, that you and I were both kind of on the same page with that.
That's amazing. Maybe we should do something with that. The fact that we've both never seen that movie. It sounds interesting.
It does sound interesting. I'm definitely curious about it. And it was, I'm not going to lie, it was a little like when I chose not to watch it, I had a quick moment of like, man, what if I hate this one?
Yeah.
And I wish I would have watched that one.
Buyer's remorse.
Yeah. I didn't. I really enjoyed The Sisters Brothers.
Yeah. I'm glad you did. I really did too.
Yeah.
I kind of forgot about it, so I'm glad you brought it back.
It's a great Western. It's a great Western.
Yeah. It's really good. Okay.
All right.
My next one is a legit foreign film because it is in a foreign language.
You keep bringing them. There's so much spite to this.
I'm just saying, if I'm not allowed to say the other ones are foreign, you're not taking this one from me.
Because I'm such a dick to you. I'm sorry, okay, Jake? I'm sorry.
I'm never going to live it down or forget it. It's from Indonesia, so it's Indonesian, and it's in the Indonesian language with subtitles. What's that face you're making?
I'm trying to think. Is it one that I love? Have I seen it?
I don't know if you've seen it. Also, the only Indonesian movie that I know that you've seen is The Raid. And The Raid 2 Berengal. So it's a lot like that. So if you are a fan of that, you will like this. Both of them also have Iko Uwais in it, or whatever, however you say his name. The guy who plays the main cop in The Raid Redemption.
Right.
It's called The Night Comes for Us from
Never seen
2018. It's from 2018. I think it's on Netflix. I don't recall. But it's like if you liked The Raid and you were watching The Raid and you were like, hey, you know what this movie needs? A lot more blood and guts and violence, then you will like this movie.
Because there wasn't enough of any of that in The Raid 1 and 2.
You will, when you see The Night Comes for Us, you will be like, oh yeah, this is a noticeably a larger amount of blood and guts.
God.
Yeah, they don't skimp on the blood or makeup or effects or gore or whatever. So just be advised, it is brutally violent. It's a lot like The Raid, where there's this guy. He works for these triad like mafia, and he his old childhood friend who also works for them, but in like another town. They're like separated, and then the main guy like kind of turns on them and goes rogue, and so the mafia brings his old childhood friend to try to like hunt him and get him back, kind of thing.
Okay.
And his friend is the guy from The Raid, and so it's like the all of the like fight scenes and everything are very like great. It's like Raid level good, but a lot more blood. There's a fight where they're like in a armored car after he gets arrested, and it's like they're all fighting in this confined space. And he pulls this grenade on this like cop's vest, and the cop like tries to escape out the back door and just blows up, and you see like chunks of meat like land all over.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's visceral for sure. But it's good. If you like kung fu, Thailand fighting movies, definitely check out The Night Comes for Us, because it is awesome.
I was looking it up on IMDb. 9%. That's why. You know how IMDb always shows like stills, which I try not to look through because sometimes the stills are spoilers. I'm hoping this is not, but like the first still they have is this net bag thing a guy is holding, and you're giggling like you know that it's covered in blood and probably something gross.
Well, 80% of the objects in this movie are covered in blood.
Okay. Well, that's like the human first hair still, in there. So yeah. There is human hair sticking out of it. Okay. Yes. All right. I'm going to have to check. It is on Netflix.
The third still is a guy lying on the ground trying to prevent a butter knife from going into his eye.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm probably going to have to check that one out because I fucking love the Raid movies. Yeah. Ooh, those movies are incredible.
Yeah, it's more of that stuff, so you'll like it.
Nice. Well, unlike yours, mine is not a hyper-violent, bloody, gory fight fest. Mine is another movie that's kind of a feel-good movie.
Okay.
Yeah, it turns out I have a few of these folks. So this is also one of those movies that I have purposefully avoided watching. Just because I was like, this one might make me a little bit gooey, and I just don't want that at the moment. It did. It really, really did. Primarily because there are elements to it that reminded me of myself with one of my all-time favorite coworkers ever from back home in Colorado, an older guy who just made like the greatest impact on my life. Awesome guy. This movie reminded me a ton of him, and just that's what got to me. I was like, oh shit, keep thinking about him. So if he's listening, hello, sir. This movie reminded me of you, which was awesome, and that's what made me all weepy. Not weepy, but it hit me in the feels.
Misty.
Yeah. No, it really did. It really did. So it's called Saint Vincent. It's with Bill Murray and Melissa McCarthy.
We're like hanging out with all those kids.
One kid. Okay. So Melissa McCarthy plays this newly single mom who her and her son moved next door to Bill Murray's character. This dude, I think this is Bill Murray's best performance.
Oh, yeah?
No joke.
Okay.
I think this is Bill Murray just nail it. He is awesome in this role. He's the grumpy old crass, inappropriate, offensive old neighbor who kind of just gets stuck watching this kid one day after school because he happens to be home, and the kid's like, I need to call my mom. And the mom hires him as a babysitter. And the story has some like, that's kind of a unnecessary part. Like he's in trouble with a bookie because he gambles all the time. And the whole bookie premise, the movie works perfect without it. It never is necessary. That's my only complaint about the movie, honestly, is the bookie stuff. Okay. But his relationship with the kid is awesome. It's excellent. And the kid's impact, or like his impact on the kid, and how the kid never really lets him know for the longest time during that movie is, I love it. And it for fans of It, Chapter 1, the kid that plays Bill, the main kid, it's his first movie. He plays the young boy.
Okay.
Awesome movie. It's so fucking good. And he goes to like Catholic school, and the whole premise of the title is like they're learning about sainthood and what qualifies people to be appointed sainthood and all that. And there's parts of the movie, and especially like when they drive the whole point of the story home, where I was like, oh shit. Relevant film alert. I think more people, more Gen Z people need to watch this movie and take a note. Take some notes, folks. Awesome movie. I fucking love this movie. I knew I would. Like, I never doubted it, and it definitely hit me in the feels. I didn't like go super blubbery, but a little misty. There was something in my eye. I will admit, a little. Oh, fucking God! It's taken away. But it's very. I really enjoyed it. Naomi Watts is in it. Her character is also kind of like super awkward and clunky for 90% of the movie. But then they bring her character around, and it was kind of like, oh, okay, there we go. But she plays a Russian stripper / call girl that is a frequent visitor to Bill Murray's character.
Okay.
Yeah.
She takes the randomest roles.
Yeah, it was very random. I didn't know she was in it, and then she has a sex scene 2 minutes into the movie with him. And I was like, Naomi Watts is in this? And she's like, she's pregnant and writing Bill Murray. This is fucking weird.
All right, well, that'll sell it right there.
But yeah, St. Vincent, though, highly recommend that. Like, and you will feel great at the end of it. You really will. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. High respect for this movie.
Okay.
And Melissa McCarthy, awesome in it. She doesn't play what a lot of people know her as. She's actually not even funny in this movie. She's just a struggling single mom going through some shit. And she actually doesn't have a lot of screen time, but her time on the screen is great. So check it out, people.
Nice.
It was really good.
Yeah, I remember seeing a trailer for it and be like, that looks like it would be fun. But yeah, I guess kind of lost track of it as you do.
As you do.
Okay. My next movie is, for people that have seen it, maybe a little controversial for it to be higher than some of these other movies, but I don't know. I dug it a lot. I thought it was really interesting and really cool. It's from 2018. It's on Netflix, a Netflix original movie. It's called Hold the Dark.
And that sounds really familiar.
It stars Jeffrey Wright and has Alexander Skarsgård and James Badge Daly.
Okay.
And it's about, there's this woman who has this kid who goes missing because he gets taken by wolves. And apparently several children in this town, I think it's in Alaska, have been gone missing recently, being killed by wolves. And so the mom writes to Jeffrey Wright's character, who apparently wrote a book about a time that he hunted wolves, and he agrees to come up and help. And so he basically is trying to help her find her kid. And while her husband is deployed to like Afghanistan or something, so Alexander Skarsgård plays her husband, who isn't around. He's in the military overseas, and has to like come home and find out that his son was killed and all this stuff. It's really interesting and really good. I liked it a lot, but it's a little bit weird. So it's also a lot more violent than you would expect going into it, where Alexander Skarsgård comes back, and basically when he comes back from the war, discovers that his kid's dead and all of this stuff, and then it kind of goes crazy and starts killing people and starts killing cops and all of this stuff. And then and then there's like this weird mystical element where the wife and him end up going to like a I guess a native witch doctor type guy, and they're asking about like, how can you bring people back from the dead and all this stuff. There's like, it gets a little bit wild, especially at the end, and you don't really know where it's going to go. But I think that's why I liked it, because it's it's kind of interesting and different in a lot of ways. But it's also just like, it's just Jeffrey Wright in a beard in the wilderness, like hunting wolves. If you liked Wind River, I feel like you would like this movie for the most
I did
part.
like Wind River. Wind River was, when you said wolves in the wilderness, I was like, oh, is that what this one is? But it's not.
Yeah, it has like similar vibes for sure. So I think that you would
So
like it.
I'm looking at the IMDb page,
Uh-huh.
and yeah, it's got a shockingly low score for you to have it so high on your list.
I'm
Now,
saying
granted, to each their own.
it's
not judging
controversial,
it.
but I thought it was cool.
It looks like people's biggest problem is it's very slow,
Yeah,
and the editing is weird.
it is slow, and the editing is weird. Yes, those are all true statements, I would say. But I liked those things, and so I would rate it higher than they did.
Okay. Yeah, that's one that I have also been curious about, but never really like gone into it. Maybe that's just because I figured like, oh, it's just like Wind River, so I probably don't actually need to watch it. But now it sounds odd, and maybe I need to watch it. I like odd movies. They're good. They're good.
Yeah.
All right. Hold the Dark. All right. And Jeffrey Wright in that beard, looking at a couple of the stills. And I watched the preview for it. That preview was weird as fuck, dude, by the way. There's like a naked woman wearing a weird skull mask standing in a tub. And
I told you there's a little bit of weird mysticism and stuff that happens. The director of this movie wrote and directed Green Room. If you have any idea of what that movie is like.
People, if you haven't watched Green Room, brace yourselves.
Yeah.
And then go watch it.
And so that is
something happy afterwards.
That is a big reason why I wanted to watch it, because I love his first movie, Murder Party. I watch it like every Halloween. It's so fun. And then Green Room is like very different, but also very good.
All right. Hold the Dark. Well, my next movie, I remember growing up and hearing about this all the time. So I've always kind of thought of it as a science fiction classic.
Okay.
I also came to a realization when I finished this movie. I will hold off and tell you that realization after.
Interesting.
So it's one that I've always been curious to watch because I heard about it so much growing up and liking sci-fi stories and movies and dramas. And one of my favorite sci-fi films is called Sphere. It's based on a Michael Crichton book. It just that movie always struck me, and I remember my dad always telling me, well, if you like Sphere, you need to see The Abyss. And I just never watched The Abyss until this episode. So I finally, I'm going to tell you folks, it took a while to finally find this movie. I couldn't find it on any stream site. I went to a few stores, tried to find it on Amazon, which I did find it on Amazon, but it was a little more expensive than I wanted to spend. We ended up finding it. My daughter helped me find it. We ended up finding it at a used bookstore that happens to sell movies as well. We found it there for crazy cheap. So I was like, I'm getting it because I wanted to watch it. So The Abyss. It's the whole movie takes place underwater. The entire film is all underwater. When they're in their little laboratory stations, that's the only dry parts of the movie. The rest is all deep sea stuff. So it is about, and you're going to chuckle because you're going to be like, well, this sounds familiar. Keep in mind, this movie came out in 1989.
Yeah.
Whereas a certain horrible film completely ripped this idea off in 1997. So this movie is about undersea drilling company who are hired by the government to help find a nuclear sub. Because they happen to be in the right spot and they happen to know their way around drilling and moving around this equipment in case they need to.
Sometimes the drillers save the world. That's just what happens. Blue collar jobs. It's all good.
When I realized that's what it was about, I started laughing. It was like, oh no, I hope this is better.
But what if we had this idea in space? Wouldn't that be better?
So The Abyss, the sci-fi element comes where something knocked this nuclear sub down.
Okay.
forced it to crash.
Yeah.
And so the government's like being real hush hush about what it is. They're blaming the Russians, and the Russians are blaming the Americans because a Russian sub was also involved in this disappearance. And so the sci-fi element is it's an aquatic alien that has been here forever. So there's your sci-fi.
Nice.
Shockingly, the alien has like very, 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 very minuscule story time in the
Oh,
movie.
really? Not even
Yes.
screen time, but story relevance?
Yeah, very, very small amount of time. In 2.5 hours, the alien maybe is talked about, shown, maybe 3.5 minutes total.
Oh, wow.
Yes, very little. So that took me off guard, considering it's regarded as such an iconic sci-fi film.
Yeah.
I have it ranked super high. It's an intense film to watch. All the underwater stuff is crazy, and the story is really cool. Just seeing like how they said, because James Cameron actually wanted to stick with as much practical effect as he could. Which I really
Old school
appreciated.
James Cameron.
Old school James Cameron.
Back in the day.
And it just added to the story. Now, reading tidbits about it, I guess it's also notorious for being one of like a movie with the worst production ever. Everyone hated it.
Yeah.
And Helms is in it. He refuses to talk about making The Abyss, like to the point where he doesn't even talk about the movie. That everyone a part of this movie, including James Cameron, hate talking about this movie because it was such a pain in the ass to make. It was a horrible experience year round, like all around.
Yeah.
But it's a really, really good movie. It's so good. And the aliens, when you see it, is like very original, very unique. It's pretty cool. There are scenes in this movie, Jake. All I could think was like, damn, I wish I could have seen this in the theater. This is the kind of scene and shot you need on the big screen. Because this would make people freak the fuck out. And it's not like a jumpy, scary scene. It's literally you looking down the abyss. Like, that's all it is. It's looking off the cliff of an underwater. It's crazy. Crazy. Loved it. I didn't think I would enjoy it as much as I did. I'm so happy I officially own it because I'm going to watch this movie a lot. I loved every moment of it. And my realization was pre-Titanic James Cameron, I love pre-Titanic Cameron. So good. The storytelling he did, excellent. He was patient with the stories. They're well made. The practical effects, the mixture of CGI and practical, awesome. Post-Titanic, what the hell happened? You lost your mojo.
Yeah.
I know, like,
too caught up in the digital effect age.
Yeah.
And lost the story and everything.
But The Abyss was excellent. And I honestly would not consider it like sci-fi. I would say it's just an interesting story.
Yeah.
Because they talk about, like, there's also stuff to it where that kind of depth and pressure, like what it can actually do to someone's brain and how it can like turn people mad. You see that with some of the characters, and that adds to the suspense because they're all trapped in this tiny, like, underwater pod.
Yeah.
It's while there's a hurricane going on the surface, so they're like anchored to the ships on the surface of the water that are going through a hurricane, and it's all still and calm.
Yeah.
But they have to maintain and keep checking like the cables to make sure everything's still okay. And it's great movie. Great freaking movie.
I've never seen it. I need to see it. I have no excuse either. I just haven't gotten around to it.
Yeah.
It sounds sci-fi's interesting, and I think part of the reason I like it, probably why we both like it, is that there's like it's kind of hard to define. Like if you have a astronaut in space, but nothing really happens to them, like gravity or something like this. That's a very realistic movie, but is still science fiction because they're literally a scientist under the ocean.
but you always consider sci-fi to be associated with like aliens or some kind of otherworldly creature,
fantasy element.
Yeah. I really enjoyed The Abyss. I thought it was really cool. There's some very beautiful scenes in it. There's a couple cliche things that they do in it that you're like, well, all right, saw that one coming, but overall, I loved this movie, and it's a slow burn. It's a very patient movie.
Okay,
so
I like that.
Just let the story write out as it needs to, because it all does make sense by the time it ends. Where you're like, all right, I get it.
Okay,
yeah,
okay, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
My second favorite movie. I'm going to update our number here. My second favorite movie that I just saw for the first time is actually, I don't know if you've heard of this, but you should see it if you haven't seen it, because it's incredible. It's called A Futile and Stupid Gesture. It's from 2018.
Not only have I heard of it, Jake, I have watched it.
Nice. That's perfect.
The whole thing about National Lampoon?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's all about the creators of the National Lampoon magazine, which I didn't really know was a thing. I grew up when the movies were in full swing, obviously. Animal House and everything was already huge. And then I learned about National Lampoon when they were kind of on the downswing. And
I was going to say, you and I
crappy National Lampoon stuff.
National Lampoon kind of hit its prime in like the 70s and early 80s.
Yeah.
And then after that, it kind of went away. And then Van Wilder is technically a National Lampoon movie, which was like, ooh, is this a resurgence? And then it just like vanished completely after that.
It started just becoming like National Lampoon's such and such and such was always just an excuse for mediocre comedy and boobs in movies.
Yep.
And that was kind of what it became, which is so sad compared to what it started as.
Yeah.
And this movie, A Futile and Stupid Gesture, is fantastic. It's kind of a dark comedy because it's funny, but also like a lot of really funny people. They're very tragic characters at the same time. So it's kind of not funny at the same time. But I really like how it kind of carries through these two guys. It kind of recreates their lives. And I'm a massive, massive, massive fan of Will Forte. He's just like the funniest man on the planet, honestly. Something about him, everything he does is hilarious to me. And I really like Domhnall Gleeson, they both play like the founders of National Lampoon magazine. And so it kind of just talks about like the beginnings of the magazine, starting to make movies and just being thrust into success, and kind of why they're trying to do all these things. I liked the splicing in of all of the different like magazine comics and stuff, and just the throwing out of ideas, and just the writer's room of comics and stuff, throwing out things that don't work, that suck, that are obscene, that are all of this stuff, is just really fun. The way it was edited was like really, really, really fun. And then how they show, like, it's a generally real story of real people that, like Chevy Chase and all of these actors who are huge. So they instead cast these different comedians that don't look basically anything like them.
Right.
And they're like, here is all of these people that you've heard of and loved and have been on SNL and have been in these movies. But you wouldn't know that unless they keep calling them that person's name.
Right.
And it's all like current, really funny people. So it works really, really well.
Yeah. For fans of the show Community, you can have a little extra like happiness or like little, oh, that's cool, because Joel McHale, who's the star of Community, who also worked with Chevy Chase on that show, he plays Chevy Chase in that movie, which I thought was like, that's just cool. That's just fun.
Yeah.
Because I guess
he, I think, is the best casting, not just because he worked closely with him, knew him very well, was able to impersonate him.
He was able to impersonate.
So
he gets all the like mannerisms that like he does it very well. Yeah.
And he's a tall, funny, sarcastic guy, a lot like Chevy was. So yeah, it worked really, really, really well.
Yeah, that is I very much enjoyed that movie. I thought it was funny. I thought it was well done. It's an interesting story. How something should have continued its reign of comedy and just got tripped up thanks to desperation and greed.
And no real like plan. It was more of just we're doing this, we're writing it out. We don't have like a motivation or a mission statement or anything.
Right.
It was just kind of like, let's be funny and hilarious and weird and off the wall. And it worked for a really long time. And then it kind of stopped working and people moved on.
Yep.
But it's really good. The movie is really, really good. And directed by David Wayne, who does a lot of funny things like Wet Hot American Summer.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked it. Like, I'm going to watch it a lot.
I could see you watching that a lot. I really could. Well, my next one is a movie that you and like everyone I know has seen this movie, and you and everyone I know, whenever this movie gets mentioned, you go, how have you not watched this? You need to watch it. It's so good.
Yeah.
You'll love it. It's your kind of movie. And I'm like, I know, it's on my list. I just never watched it until this week.
Okay.
This is possibly one of the most feel good, make you feel warm and fuzzy, make you just if you don't finish this movie with a giant fucking smile on your face, go see like professional help because you need some new priorities. The movie is awesome. All of you are correct. Y'all called it like it is. It's a damn near perfect like feel good film. Chef.
Yeah.
Jon Favreau. Yes, folks. I finally fucking saw Chef. You can quit bugging me about it. And you can quit bugging me because, I knew almost immediately into this movie, like, I can tell why everyone wanted me to see it. Like, it's a feel-good movie. It's shot well. It's written well.
Yeah.
The cast is incredible. And I love that no one ever tries to steal any kind of spotlight from anything. It's like everything is just, it works for every actor that's in the movie. I actually think John Leguizamo might be my favorite character in the movie.
Same.
It's either him or the son. It's one of them that are like, you guys make this movie. Not to take anything from Jon Favreau. He's excellent.
Yeah.
But, dude, like, I kept waiting for like, oh, here comes the real bad moment. Here we go. And then it never came.
There's no bad moments
There's
in that
no
movie.
bad moment.
That's like my favorite thing about it is that it's just feel good all the way through.
All the way through.
And even like the troubles that he like is trying to overcome, you never feel that concerned that he won't do it.
Right.
Like he's just gonna make Cubano sandwiches and it's gonna be great, and he does, and it's great, and you feel good the whole time.
And you feel great. You just like when it ended, I just sat on the couch watching the credits and was like, what other movie has made me feel so like elated? Like just like, okay. Like I have movies always put me in a great mood. This one was on a whole different level. And yeah, I was really hungry after I watched that movie and was like, I need all the food he cooked in this movie. I need it all in me.
They make it look so delicious.
It is food porn to the D. And I really, even when he makes the grilled cheese, I was like, I want to eat that grilled cheese.
Like, that looks like the best grilled cheese anybody's ever made.
Dude, that movie, I was so, I couldn't believe it. I still can't believe it. Like, how do you make such that good of a, like, the only other movie I can think of that made me feel that happy, that good, just here we go, was The Sandlot.
Yeah.
Like, it is on that level where it is just, there is the bad things that happen in it are not even that bad.
Yeah.
You're like, it's okay. He gets to move on. And
and his support from his friends and his wife and like all these people.
It's so good. Like, I couldn't believe how good this movie was. I was like, all right, it deserves all hype. In fact,
it lived up to the hype.
Like almost more. I can't believe this movie bombed at the theater, like in the box office. It's
underrated, which is weird because everybody you talk to who sees it has loved it.
Has loved it.
And they're like, that movie is so good, but hardly anybody talks about it.
I know. I loved Chef. Absolutely loved it. So there it is. I finally saw Chef.
Good.
Wait till you hear my number one. You're all going to be like even more. Oh my God, he finally did it. Yeah, Chef.
I'm glad that it seems like so many times you anticipate a movie for so long that it doesn't live up to the hype. But for your two longest ones to actually be at the top, that's amazing.
At the top. They not only did they meet everyone's hype about them, they surpassed it. Like they were so perfect. Like they're perfect films.
That's awesome.
They're perfect.
Okay. So my last movie, we're at the top, the tippy top, is probably the most random and most deep cut that I was curious if you have seen.
Oh shit! Okay.
It is. I don't know where exactly to start with it. So it's called Brigsby Bear from 2017.
I've never even heard of Brigsby Bear.
So you may be familiar with Kyle Mooney, who was an SNL writer and cast member. He's most famous for doing some of the weirdest, like pre-recorded skits on SNL, like the current-ish generation of SNL. He did a lot of really weird videos, and probably the most interesting.
Is it Kylie or Kyle?
I said Kyle. I thought
you said Kylie. That could be the beer talking.
I may have overpronounced his name. It's definitely Kyle Mooney.
Okay.
There's an E at the end, so I might have pronounced it. I don't know. But I feel like his videos, they were very weird on SNL, but I think they were the most interesting and brave thing that they've done of like the current generation. So I was very interested in it for that reason. He wrote it. He stars in it. I think the director was also a writer and director on SNL. So it's kind of like the most indie version of an SNL movie, if that can be a thing. It's about this kid played by Kyle Mooney, who is now an adult man-child who lives at home watching old VHS tapes of this show called Brigsby Bear, which is like a Barney type show, giant man-sized puppet with he's a bear outfit, a mascot looking character, a character named Brigsby Bear who it's a kid's show. Basically, he's just watches all these videotapes of this kid's show, and he's a super fan of it, but he's like 30 and he lives at home with his parents. And then you learn his parents, they're like kind of really weird. Like at dinner, they will say a little prayer and then they'll shake each other's hands like they're greeting each other, and they're just a little weird. And Mark Hamill plays his dad, at least at first, because you discover.
Are you giving me a spoiler?
It's not a spoiler. It happens in the first 5 seconds of the movie.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
You discover that he was actually kidnapped as a child and raised by these people, and he didn't know that they weren't his parents. And so the cops come, they arrest Mark Hamill and his wife, and then he is like thrust into the real world, having never been in the real world. It's kind of like a blast from the past, where he's just like lived in this bunker his whole life watching Brigsby Bear. And so he's never really interacted with real people. And now his real family has been looking for him this whole time. And so he now has a new family and a sister and all this stuff. And so he's just very awkward, he's learning about the internet and movies. He sees movies for the first time. And so he decides he wants to make a Brigsby Bear movie because he loves Brigsby Bear. He tells everybody about it. And so he decides to make a Brigsby Bear movie. And then it kind of like catches on, and people see clips online that he's posted or people have posted for him. And it kind of gains like a little cult following, and people are like kind of supporting him. So it's a really interesting, feel-good movie. Greg Kinnear plays like the detective who is like, he's a detective trying to solve this like terrible kidnapping, but also he had like a stage background, theater background, and so he wants to like help this kid get the props out of storage and be in his movie. And Greg Kinnear's really funny in it. But yeah, it's weird and different, but I think it's so incredibly like wholesome and heartfelt, where this kid is like trying to deal with the trauma of having been kidnapped, but also his childhood wasn't that bad, so he isn't that mad at the people who kidnapped him. He still kind of like sees them as his parents. So how's he? But all these people are like, oh, they're horrible, they can't be your parents. So he's like trying to deal with all this stuff, and he's not that socially developed. So it's so well done, and I really, really liked it, and I want everybody to see it because it's really, really interesting.
So I was watching the preview and listening to you talk.
Yeah,
dude, this looks exactly like my kind of movie.
I think you would love it.
It's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
This looks exactly like the kind of movie not only do I want to see, but I kind of feel like I need to see it.
You do need to see it. Everybody needs to see it. It's really, really good.
Dude, I love movies like that. Oh man, I love movies like that where you're just like, this is necessary.
Yeah.
This is
yeah. And there's enough like Napoleon Dynamite awkwardness too, where he's like a kid kind of, but I don't know. There's just so many things about it that I just really loved it.
Dude, that. Oh man, I'm gonna have to watch that. It looks amazing. And then hearing how you talk about it, like, I'm gonna have to watch that movie.
Yeah.
And if a wholesome feel good movie like that gets you that excited, then I know I'm like, well, I'm probably gonna fall in love with this movie real fucking fast.
Yeah, I think so. Report back when you see it.
Oh, I will. All right. My number one.
Okay.
So I even wrote a setup for this one.
I can't wait.
Oh shit, I lost it. There it is. All right. So first off, this movie, y'all have been telling me about this movie for years now. And how amazing it is. You guys can't believe that I have never seen it. So it's from 2014.
Okay.
So whenever people find out that like I'm a fan of jazz, I get one of two, if not both, reactions from people. I get, oh, I don't like jazz. How can you listen to jazz?
Yeah.
But have you seen? And then I get, oh, it's like that one movie. Have you seen? And I'm like, no, I haven't seen it. And everyone reacts and says, how have you not seen this? It's so good. Oh my God. And I'm like, I just somehow know. I always feel like Andy from the 40-Year-Old Virgin when people have asked me this, where I'm like, I meant to.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to, and then it just never happened. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. It just never happened. And then I finally sat down and watched it. This was the first movie I put on the list when we were like, we're going to do 10 more movies that we haven't watched that we've been meaning to. I was like, number one, Whiplash. Dude.
You liked it, huh?
Oh my God. This movie sucked me in so quick. There's so much to this movie that I was like, I feel a little obsessed with this right now.
Yeah.
Holy shit. This is a crazy movie. I say crazy movie. It's not like there's massive things that go on. I mean, it's a kid trying to be a great jazz drummer.
Yeah.
And like the lengths he's willing to go to and put up with. And J.K. Simmons is, holy shit, is he good in this movie?
Yeah, he's incredible.
Like, that's... I was saying, I was like, he won the award for best supporting for this role. My only thought watching him was like, why would they bother with other nominees? I feel like, why?
Exactly.
Dude, Whiplash was so fucking good. I was so drawn into this movie because it's full of so many horrible decisions. Like, there's no real great his dad and the girlfriend are the only characters that are like good people. Yeah. And he totally just shits on them. I get that, like, it doesn't sound like it would be appealing, but just I love how brutally open it is about that kind of like, is there a line? Should there be a line to chasing after your dream.
Yeah.
Where it goes from chasing the dream to achieve the dream to obsession and like the dangerous levels that people will go to for it.
Yeah. But to be great, you have to give 100%.
Right.
And how many people are even capable of that kind of dedication?
Doing it. Yeah. And is it worth sacrificing so many things and giving so much of yourself to it? Is it actually worth it in the end?
And it depends so much on what you want to get out of it.
Yeah.
Because if you are in it for the wrong reasons, you will achieve it and then realize that's not going to fill the hole or do what you wanted. And it was all for nothing.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not going to say it just in case there are some people who have not watched it yet.
Yeah. I came to it really late too. I only saw it a couple years ago.
I will gladly say I am officially one of those people that when someone tells me they have not watched it yet, I will be like, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, stop what you're doing right now. Go watch Whiplash. You won't feel good at the end of it, but you'll know you've watched something incredible. The ending was much like my moment with Goodnight Mommy, where there's a moment in the end that happened, and I was off of the couch like, oh shit, like I felt like Channing Tatum's character in 21 Jump Street when he finds out that Jonah Hill has had sex with the captain's daughter. I felt like doing that throughout the living room, just like, oh shit. I adored this movie. I can't believe it's so good, and I'm so mad at myself for not seeing it when it first came out. The ending was perfect. The movie is perfect. It's so much better than I thought it was going to be. And I was like, who the hell made this movie? I must watch all of their stuff.
It's only your favorite romantic movie or musical of all time.
Or my favorite musical of all time. And I realized that was like, well, no shit. I love this movie.
Yeah, the guy who obviously has gotten jazz because he keeps making jazz-related things.
He keeps using it, and he uses it prominently in the trailer for his newest film coming out, which I am stoked to go see, by the way.
Yeah, Babylon.
Yeah, dude, Whiplash was on a whole nother level for me. I'm probably going to get a little obsessed with this movie. And just like, it's going to be one that I'm like, what am I in the mood for? Well, we're watching Whiplash until I make a decision of what else to watch.
Yeah, I think that's such an interesting thing. This movie about obsession and greatness and dedication and all of this stuff. It makes you kind of weirdly obsessed and dedicated and all that stuff to the movie. Like, I don't know. Maybe there's something that I want to feel that he is feeling. I wish I could ever be that good at anything. Maybe that's it. But I think there's a lot of little things that is just attractive about the movie that makes you want to watch it over and over.
There was a lot to it. And like, I am going to do deep dives into it on my own time just to be like, all right, where are the parallels? Like, where are your metaphors? Are there actual metaphors, or was this simply just obsessive?
On the surface,
I don't think it is, because Damien Chazelle is known for putting some deep things in his stories. But dude, I get like, this movie's so fucking good. It's so good.
Yeah, it's really, really good. And I do think that a lot of people haven't seen it. Everybody's heard of it because it was a big like Oscar thing that happened. But I didn't see it for a long time. I think a lot of people haven't seen it. It is as good as they say, though.
Yeah, it really is. Like, I just, for the longest time, I was like, where is this movie going to go? And I'm so glad it went in the direction it did. It's so...
Now that you've seen it, I've been meaning to ask you. I've seen J.K. Simmons' character listed on like top 10 villain lists.
100%. He is such a great villain.
I'm kind of in the camp where I'm like, is he really a villain though?
Well, his motivation is, dare I say, admirable.
Yeah.
For being the one to push and
Right.
push.
He's
to
a
get-
teacher. He's trying to teach you.
He's
to be the
trying to
best
get
ever.
I think what would categorize him as a villain,
Mhm.
his methods are fucked.
He is
And he
abusive
has-
for sure.
He has like no remorse for what
Yeah.
he does. I think that's what villainizes him. Is that a word?
Sure.
Yeah. I think
All right.
that's why he would be considered a villain. And if that is the case, he is a fantastic villain.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to see him play like a real legit
Yeah. That guy
evil
villain.
villain. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no one's really a great, like I said, the dad and the girlfriend are really the only good people in the
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
The
hero's
main guy,
not good.
yeah, and you feel for him for like a third of the movie, and then when his obsession really starts like showing, you're like, ooh, you're kind of not. Don't go down this path. Like I just adored it. I thought it was a great. I don't want to say cautionary tale, but elements of it would be. I think it's just to the ending. When we're not recording, the ending was so awesome. I'm not kidding when I say I was off of the couch like, oh shit, yes.
That's awesome.
I was so excited about this movie, and I'm so happy I finally watched it, and so mad that it took me so long to watch.
Yeah. Now there's all that lost time where you weren't a fan of it, but
which I will gladly make up by rewatching it a lot. And yeah, the jazz in the movie is so good. Oh, I love jazz so much. Oh,
yeah,
so good.
Yeah, it's like the best kind. All right, there you go. 10 movies. Hopefully, you haven't seen some of them. I'm sure you haven't.
Yeah, I'm sure we have a handful on both our lists that people have not yet seen. If you have seen them,
the unfortunate thing is, I think I got some new movies that I didn't know about that now I have to see from your list. So
vice versa,
counterproductive.
Vice versa. We got more. More. That's okay.
Yeah,
that's okay. Yeah, if you happen to have seen the movies that we just watched for the first time, let us know what you thought about it. We're curious. We want to hear from you.
Definitely.
Next week, our next episode should be pretty fun. A little bit different kind of episode. We're not going to really deep dive into a specific movie or 10. We're talking action icons, dude.
I know. So I feel like we agree too much on things. And so I'm trying to start a fight. We had pretty big feedback about our first debate episode where we did the old Dread versus the new Dread. And
whereas everyone unanimously calls shitty Dread versus great Dread.
I agree. Yes. So the shitty one is the new one, and the great one is. Let's not get into it. So,
I set you up for that one, Jake. I threw you a bone, man. I threw you a bone.
Gee, thanks.
You're
welcome. Like that, we are going to do another debate. However, this time it is about who is the greatest action star. Is it Arnold Schwarzenegger or is it Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson?
And an interesting.
It's going to go all over the place because there's a lot of different things and ways to approach that conversation. So yeah, I'm very excited about it.
I like this one. Honestly, this has been a tough one to prep for. I started doing notes and I texted you some of the stuff that I was already. I'll save that for our episode. You trying to start another debate fight for this one. I think I'm going to predict it's not going to go as our last one went. I think we're both going to kind of be like,
That's what you think. I've chosen a side and I have assigned you a side because you didn't want to choose a side.
Yeah, it's true.
And,
you did.
I need to find a topic where you have like a very serious like belief in one side. Because this kind of happened with the Dread one. You're like, I will play along and defend the new one.
You don't want me to play along at all.
I want you to sincerely believe in the side that you were taking, and not just be like, I could see it either way.
It doesn't help that you and I like hate the same movies, though.
Yeah, when you find something that I like that you don't like, or vice versa, I guess.
Oh my god!
Something that you like that I can attack. Oh, we'll work on it. But until then,
thought of one. I'm not even going to tell
boy,
you.
I
But I
can't
just thought
wait.
of one. I just thought of it. I'm not telling you.
We're too far down the rabbit hole. We've got episodes planned out to next year. It'll happen next year, if ever. So yes, next week.
Plenty of time for me to forget. Yes.
The Rock versus Arnie. You should write it down before we forget. Showing nothing up my sleeve.
I'm not writing shit. I want to forget this.
Yeah, so The Rock versus Arnie is next week.
Yep.
And then I don't even remember what happens after that. There's a lot of good stuff coming up.
We have so many episodes planned. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But looking forward to it all. Yeah, so prep for that one, folks. That should be a pretty funny one. I think it's pretty obvious what side Jake has assigned me and what side he took on himself. If you've been watching or listening to us long enough, you know exactly what side we're on. We teased it a while ago. I'm going to tease it again just to keep everyone like, what are they doing? My daughter knows what we're doing. By the way, Jake, she loved all of it. Okay. She made the same little jokes that I made to you, but she made them to me. We've got some fun things coming up at some point.
Yeah.
Working on that stuff.
It's hard. It's hard to. I was thinking of teasing something on social media, but I just have stills. I don't have anything put together.
Yeah.
It's actually moving.
And every time I go into it to start working on stuff for like to send you,
yeah,
I age myself and I'm like, I don't even know what I click on. I don't know where I start. And I'm like, I should text Jake and have him help me. And I'm like, don't do that. Don't do that. You're a grown man. You can figure this out.
I've been using YouTube tutorials.
And I'm like, I don't know what to do. This is so weird to me.
Yeah, we're trying to learn, like, I guess, a new skill, but it's a very hard, complicated, modern technical skill
that
to like animate stuff.
Yeah. Oh, it's there's hard. Your tease, guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, so be on the lookout for that. I think that's just gonna show up. I'm just gonna tell you that right now, guys. We're probably just it'll just appear.
It'll show up. That'll be fun.
Be ready for that. Yeah, we got some fun stuff up. Go buy your shit. I gotta get mine. There's a handful of items I need to get.
Yeah, new merch.
Yeah, go do that. I can't think of anything else. I'm also beer rambling right now because that was 9%, right, and it's kind of hit me a little bit.
All right, thank you for listening, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
We will see you next time.
Yeah, we will.
We love you.
Bye, everyone.